Never, never, never die. 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 Never die.
All right. It is the Angry Dad. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. I do have a guest, but before we get into that, I'd like to thank my podcast sponsors, Everyday Fit Life. If you're looking for a nutritional program that can help you set a habit, set a pattern, something that help guide you in the basic nutritional program that you need to have, because a lot of us just don't have that foundation. And here's where you can get it. You can get 30 days, 60 days, 90 days worth of help. You just follow the program. Each program comes with a training program too, so it'll help speed up the process. So get yourself hooked up at Everyday Fit Life and use code AngryDad for 20% off your order at Everyday Fit Life. Max Performance Peptides. Everyone wants to heal. Everyone wants to recover. And guess what? You can get that Wolverine stack. Put your mutant X powers to the max with Max Performance for You. That is Max Performance for You. MaxPerformanceForYou.com. Use code AngryDad at checkout, and you can get 10% off your order. That is MaxPerformanceForYou.com. Thank you, guys. Chris Averys. Man, hey, 17 miles a day. Well, I think you've ran the perimeter of the United States. Guess what? Training and running. And when I read your thing, your team reached out, talk about what you were doing, what you're talking about. And I'm just going to give you a little background on me. I went through a horrible divorce. And when a man falls apart, and your running hit me because that's what I did too. You know what I'm saying? It started off with a mile, or started off with a block, started off with 2 blocks, and then started off with 10 miles. All right. And, what I'm saying, that's why it hit me so much, because there's a lot of men out there that need the kind of help that you're preaching.
Thank you. I agree. We've seen a lot of men that do need it. And I think it's not getting less, it's getting more men that need it. So.
Exactly. Well, just for my listeners and viewers, just give us an introduction to yourself, because I'll never do it justice.
Okay, cool. I like to say I'm just an ordinary man, and just working on doing something 1% above average each day. And really, we started training to run the perimeter of America in 2022. We've run 4 years straight, and we will start the perimeter run in 2027.
Okay.
So yeah, just so that's clear. So now we've run every day for over 4 years now. We started with a mile. So we started, as you said, started really small. And that's how most of us should start, because most of us aren't ready. If I would have started at 17 miles a day, I would have stopped after 2 or 3 days. But yeah, luckily we started small, and now we're running 17 miles a day, and we're really just looking to kick butt and be our best, and show other men what your best looks like. Because it's not like outside looking in, it's about running. Mm-hmm. Inside looking out, it's about becoming the best man you can be, the best father, the best husband. It's about showing up and showing yourself what you're capable of, what you're capable of following through on, and really what you have inside, how much we limit ourselves. And I ran a marathon without any training, and that's really what started the whole running journey. And that showed me how much we tell ourselves we're incapable, how much we limit ourselves, and how much fucking strength we really have, but we're not willing to tap into it, or we're not even willing to give ourselves open the door a crack to put our hand through to see if we can eat, like how much we can really endure. And to me, the joy of life is not about the winning or the losing. It's about filling it all, because there is lessons and true beauty and true impact for yourself and the people around you by going through all of it and sharing it with others and sharing your experience with others.
No, that's absolutely true. And even just touching upon how you say most men won't even crack the door to understand their true potential, because that's one of those things is, as men, we prop ourselves up in a certain way, in a certain hierarchy of like, we're the father, we're the man, we need to do all these things. But then when the world comes crumbling down, it's that worth is gone, and then you don't feel like it's worth doing anything. And that's like one of those things is like, until you have that realization that you have the strength to not just persevere, but to endure. You know what I'm saying? That's when that door can crack, and then that's when your potential can actually start flooding out and shining. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, without the breaking, without the pressure, you know, there is no remaking, right? Without the breaking, there's no remaking. So you that I hate to break it to everybody, but that means you got to be broken. That means
Mhm.
you got to get on such deep pressure, and especially I'm assuming you live in America. I don't know exactly where
Yeah.
you live,
Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah. I'm in
it,
California in the
okay,
United States.
perfect. I made that assumption. So we both live in the United States, and in our country, in our world, it's so easy to produce enough to be comfortable,
Mm, mm,
to not have to struggle. And I think those are all the things that make us a dull boy, is all the easy things that make us dull. And we think like, man, I I'm, as we look at men's suicide rates, man, I'm suicidal, man. I wish I could start that business, but I have this job and I got kids to take care of. And most of us use those things as excuses and reasons not to take action. And also, those are the exact reasons you should take action. Because guess what? You're going to tell your kids while they're growing up, like, you can do anything while you're working a job that you hate. You're going to tell your kids, like, you can, like, the world is anything you want to do. You can create your business. You can do, you can marry anybody you love, and then you're going to marry a person and build a horrible relationship in it. And man, you're the exact example that you don't want to be to your kids for most of us.
exactly.
And most of us
No,
need to just realize, like, man, there's something inside us that there is a fire. There's a fire burning to be a better dad, to be a better man, to create a better company, product, whatever it is. And yet we got to breathe life into that. And instead we're smothering it and taking the oxygen out of it.
and that's the truth too. Growing up my entire life, I always felt, and I've said this numerous times on my podcast, that I have always had something in me calling out, but I've never fueled that fire. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Ever since I was a kid, I knew something I can do. I knew something could happen. I knew if I just somehow, some way, and never understood that somehow, some way, and never having that example. Because, just like the majority of us, I went to school, I was programmed, I was set up. Hey, you get a job, you go to college, you get married, you have kids, and then you retire. And then that's the format that the majority of the world has been teaching up to a certain age. And now it's a little bit more different because now people want to work for themselves. People want to do these things. And there's a path laid out. But sometimes for the majority of us, especially because I'm 43 and I haven't learned any of this until I hit my 30s, as in what I want to do, how I want to chase my dreams, and how I want to push myself forward. And like I said, I've had the 9 to 5s. I've had the 12, the 6 to 6s. I've put in those times, I've put in those hours, and I've worked really hard. And it's taken so long to just break. Because like one of the things that I always do is as soon as I panic, as soon as life kind of falters, I revert back to my old habits of like, I just got to get a job. I just got to work. I just got to clock in, clock out, and everything will be okay. And it's a fear a lot of us can't break.
It is. Yeah. It's certainly a pattern. It's certainly a societal, um, programming. And to me, like, I know the crazy part about it is if we really look at history, the 20th century comes, right? We get the industrialization. But before that, because I've done research on this, you look up the percentage and about the people that were employed by somebody else. So either you were a sole proprietor, you owned your own farm, you worked, you created like a company.
Mhm.
So, but before the turn of the 20th century, it was about 10% of people that worked for somebody else. And then the industrialization comes in, and then we all get told as men, because we already know, looking at our young men that go to school,
Mhm.
we already know that type of teaching is not for young men, right? Young men need to be up doing things, exploring, being the hero, and yet we still send them to school. It's no different than what we do to men after they leave school. We send them to a new thing called school. It's called a job. And most
Mhm.
men go like, "Man, I'm living a life of quiet desperation. Why am I living that way?" Because you are not conquering. You're not making any of your own decisions. All you're doing is being told what to do. Do this, do that. You get rewarded for this. If you're a good boy, that doesn't build a strong man. That doesn't build a strong society or a strong culture. What it does is it destroys a man. It destroys it. Why is our suicide rate again so high for men? And it's because we are taking on so many things. We're living quiet desperation, and we have nobody. And that's the reason I love like having a brotherhood, because a few months ago, run 1,400 days straight, have overcome hernias, shin splints, financial issues, all kinds of things, right? Babies being born, my wife being in labor for almost 24 hours straight, and we still figured out how to run every day. The
Yep.
thing that almost took me down was the flu. And the flu kept me like I was in the bathroom. So, TMI, tell me more information.
Oh,
So I was
hey,
after
come on, you
way
lay
too
it
much.
out because we
Yeah.
understand. There, hey, you get a head flu, you get a stomach
Yeah.
flu,
Yeah.
you are fucked up. That's just how it
Yeah.
fucking goes.
I was fucked up. Yes. I was in the bathroom way too much that day. But luckily, I had a brother that said, "Hey, what do you have to do to, like, literally asked me, what do you have to do to get it done?"
Yeah,
And I went like, that's a great question. That rolled around in my head, and we went out that day and got the run done. But
there you
my
go.
point of saying that is, again, only because I have another man that has his own company, like, is going out practicing mixed martial arts every day, like doing his best, being his best every day. He has the know-how and the ability to speak to me and lift me up. And when we get more men and more brotherhood rolling around, like, all of us, and keeping us, like, not just accountable, but lifting us up during those hard times, that is a game changer. And we
Mm.
just don't have that as much in society because we're told we're men, and we get marginalized and told we're not worth it, and all kinds of other crap that we carry around,
Oh yeah.
because most of us carry around 300 pounds of shit, of stuff that people tell us that we should be doing, or that this is what a man looks like, instead of us figuring out what it is inside, what burns in our soul to be, and then living that out.
And that's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. A lot of men nowadays, and like I said, I grew up a manly man. I grew up like, and for the majority, I know you don't know too much of my background, but I grew up in the hood. I grew up in a very dangerous neighborhood. I grew up in a very specific way where violence is key. You know what I'm saying? I grew up needing to protect myself, needing to defend myself, needing to defend the area that I lived in. That's just how I grew up. You know what I'm saying? And that was one part of my life. And I grew up with about five guys, tight knit. We're all still close. We're all still tight knit. But the thing is we all had to have each other's back. And just like you said, it's a brotherhood that you develop. And even with my kids growing up, I no longer live in that situation. I'm no longer in that situation. You know what I'm saying? I was able to rise above, and all of us were able to take care of ourselves now. You know what I'm saying? We all live great lives. But with our boys, with our kids, with my sons, it's teaching them independent thinking, teaching them to be themselves, to be comfortable with themselves, be comfortable with saying yes and saying no, but also
Mm,
being comfortable with having the understanding that I don't need anyone to tell me, hold me, or show me. I can learn things on my own. And that's just like how you said, a lot of us, we don't have that backup. You know what I'm saying? And trying to create these communities and have these communities and share these experiences and understanding that you're not alone, because that's one of the biggest things I love to push is, our situations, everything that we've gone through is not singular. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
A lot of us go through the exact same emotions, the exact same feelings, and go through the exact same problems. It's just that where society makes us feel that we can't talk, share, or expose what's going on in us. But I'm completely against that. People are like, no, let's talk about our feelings, let's talk about our emotions, let me tell you what I'm thinking freely, whether you like
absolutely.
it or not.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's essential to
Yeah.
having a strong community and a healthy community, is speaking, uh, and I mean this, like, I like to call them courageous conversations.
Mhm.
And from a person that's managed coaches, from a person that's managed people, and I'm sure you can relate to this, most people want to tell you what the problem is with the other person. They don't
Yeah.
want to tell, or and they don't want to go to the other person. And I'll say one of the best things I have ever implemented in my life is seek first to understand, then be understood. And it's amazing when I seek first to understand from people and really what they're going through, that, like, Lincoln is said that this was his quote.
Mm.
I'm not old enough to know Lincoln, so I don't know if it was his quote, but I'll go with it. But he sees a man walking to his law office, and he turns to his secretary and he goes like, I don't like that man's face. I better get to know him better. And to me, that's always stuck with me. When I don't like somebody, or I don't like something that somebody did, when I seek first to understand, I get to know them better. and you
Yep.
get to, as you just said, you get to see that human side of them, and you get to see the human experience, and that they're all like, maybe their problem looks different than mine, but we're all sharing the same feelings and emotions, and we're all going through the same things. And when we realize that, man, it makes us a human, and it no longer makes us like this problem divides us, or I should be ashamed or guilt of my like feelings or the things that I'm going through. It makes us connected. And there is just a true profoundness in that. And that's, again, why a brotherhood is so important. And I'll say this, another reason a brotherhood is so important is because most of us, the person we look at statistics when people go to the gym, and when they go to the gym without a gym partner, it's about 39% that they go consistently.
Mhm.
When they get a gym partner, it's 77%. It's over 77%. So when we look at that, we know like most people struggle with accountability to themselves. But you said 4 or 5 other guys around you
Yeah.
that protected you, but also helped you stay accountable. And until we can build a strong enough foundation in ourselves through what drives us, what we're determined by, and what we're dedicated to give us the discipline that most people speak of wanting, until we understand those first 3 Ds to get the fourth D, we need that accountability from somebody else, because most of us struggle to keep ourselves accountable to doing what we say we're going to do. And that's the greatest gift I think we give men through coaching, that allows them to step up to their real level.
And that's true too. That accountability that we have to have for ourselves, and for one of the things too is like this, my episodes come out Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. They're real quick, real short, but it's a check-in. It's hey, let me listen, let me hear, what, he's right or he's wrong or whatever they think. But the thing is, that check-in is that accountability. That check-in is like, oh yeah, I need to remember that I'm powerful, that I'm strong, that I can do this, and that I want this. Because that's what it is. A lot of us want
Mhm.
something, but we just don't have the mental capacity or the accountability to chase after it in the way that we should. You know what I'm saying? Because the
Mm.
life's
I,
responsibilities fall on us, and then those hold over that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean this in the best way, is like those trials are meant to be there for a reason. Like most of us,
Mhm.
again, even if we have something we want, we usually go like, well, that's going to be really hard to get, so I'll just push that down, forget about it, or it'll bubble up every few, and then I'll act like I'm going to do something about it. Not. But yet when we look at it, man, it's just so easy to get caught up in, I'll do that someday. I want that thing, but someday it'll be a better day. And the trial is not meant to stop you. It's meant to show like how great you are,
Mhm.
how great the thing is that you really want. And so it goes, and then how much you are transforming in your life. Right? Without the trials, there is no way to know how great you are. And so the hernia wasn't meant to stop me. The shin splints for a year wasn't meant to stop me. The financial side of it wasn't meant to stop me. It was meant to build me. And again, I go back to just the breaking, remaking. Like if you realize that, then every trial now becomes not a trial, but in a sense, if you've ever played, we're the same age, so you probably played
Yeah.
some Mario Kart back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And if you played Mario Kart, there's these little parts you can go on, and it gives you like this speed boost, and the trials are almost that speed boost, because it allows you just to like demolish almost all the old limiting beliefs that you thought about yourself, and give yourself this new like unlimited foundation. And then you level up, and as they always say, new level, new devil. So you get to the
Yep.
next level, and then that either that trial looks differently, but it comes back, or there's a new trial. But the trial, like, you know Tony Robbins says, one of the biggest problems about people in America is they don't want any. And I think that's so profoundly true, is we want no problems. We want this life that's just easy and goes as it is. But there's no greatness in that.
Yeah.
There's the dull boy in that. And there is the, man, this is, if this is life, why the fuck am I going to stay here for another 50 years living this life if this is what life looks like? And that's because we've taken all the trial and the excitement out of it by making it simple and easy and falling in love with that.
No, 100%. Here's the thing: is nobody wants easy, but everybody wants easy. And the thing
Yeah.
is no one being being uncomfortable needs to be the new comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
one of
Absolutely.
the thing I always see is no one's willing to confront the problems, no one's willing to confront their issues, no one's willing to confront life because it will be hard. But that's what you need. Just like you said, it needs to be hard. One of the things that I learned in my time going through everything that's gone through, because I've gone through 2 divorces, going through, custody, getting, getting custody of my kids, taking care of them, raising them as a single dad. And then, I'm remarried now, and life is beautiful. It's where I want it to be. But I had to deal with every single issue that popped up, because if I didn't, it wouldn't go away. And a lot of
Hmm.
us, have a hard time with that because we just don't want to feel failure. We don't want to see failure. We won't want to go through failure. But the thing is, you have to go through the failures of life to get past them, to learn from them, to grow from them, to really become the person you need to become. Because guess what? That's the only way you're going to grow.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the failure is simply feedback, is what I always say. And if we know
Yeah.
it's feedback, then it's just meant to, again, show you who you really are. But it is that people don't, like, they either egotistically or just mentally, it's hard to handle failure. And since we both have been in business for a while, when you start your business, you go like, oh man, I can't wait. Everything's gonna go so good. I'm
Yeah.
gonna help so many people. I'm gonna make such an impact. Just wait. And then years go by, and then you realize like, wow, that's not this isn't working out the way I had envisioned it. And you realize like I'm gonna fail far more times than I'm gonna succeed. But my successes will be so big that they'll outweigh the failures. But amount wise, the failures are still going to be more than the successes will be. And
Mhm.
that's just part of the shaping and the direct and redirecting you of life, so you can go like, I like this, I don't like that. What was it? I want to ask you, what was the hardest thing that you feel like you've overcome out of the divorces, getting your kids? Like, what was the hardest emotionally, and what was the hardest mentally?
You know what? Going through divorces, and because like I said, I've been through 2 divorces, and just dealing with everything that. But I had a come to Jesus moment one time, and it was the most craziest thing that ever happened to me. It was the pivotal point of my life. I was drinking, drugs, just kind of just literally sleeping on my mom's couch.
Mm.
All I had was work boots, work clothes, nothing else. I had to, an hour and a half to work, to like, walk to the train, walk, then train to work, and then doing that for probably a year. You know what I'm saying? Before I had this. And I'm just sitting on my couch one day, and not my couch, my mom's couch, and she's sitting with me, and she just looked at me, and she's "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know." And she's like, "What do you want to do?"
Mm.
And that's when the light bulb hit me. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. It wasn't much. It wasn't much at all. All I wanted to do was go to the gym, train, and that was my only thing that I ever wanted to do. I've never had an opportunity because for the majority of my jobs, I've worked 12-hour days. You know what I'm saying? 6 to 7 days a week. I have 4 kids, a young man, wife didn't work. It was just me. So I was just basically burying myself at work because, hey, how do you pay? And I live in California. So how do you pay the bills? How do you make enough money? How do you support that at a young age? You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? And that's what I did. And unfortunately, that crushed my life. But I wanted this. And my mom looked at me and says, then do it.
Mm.
I've never had a supportive moment in my life until that very point because I never thought of putting myself forward. I never thought of putting myself in the beginning. I never thought that I should do something I want. I always
Mm.
put my emotions, my feelings, and my wants on the back burner because, just like he said, I have to work. I have to pay the bills, have to pay the mortgage, have to pay the car, have to pay insurance. The list goes on. And that was the first time that I ever considered I should do what I want.
Mm.
And when that light bulb hit, my mom was like, "I'm here. I'll help you." You know what I'm saying? So she would like this was my schedule every single day for probably about 5 years. Um, I worked at night because I had no one to take care of the kids during the day. So I worked at 6, got off at 6, get home, get the kids up, dressed, ready, and my mom would just basically be home at night with them. That's all. And get them fed, take them to school, drop them off at school at 8, and then from 8 o'clock to 12, I would work out and train,
Wow.
and then go home, sleep for about an hour, pick up the kids, bring them home, homework, food, dinner, try to sleep another couple of hours before my mom would get home, and then I would go to work. And
Wow.
that was my schedule for a long time. But I was in the most happiest moments of my life at that moment in time, not considering my future now, but at that moment in time, I couldn't be more happier because I was actually doing something that I wanted to do with no interruptions. Like I had my responsibilities, I have the things I wanted to do, but for those couple of hours, I was actually immersed in something that I've read magazines, I've had every fitness trainer. I would just buy the Flex and all these things, and I would read the articles and I was doing this before I ever started working out. So I had all this, basically knowledge, but never could apply it because I just didn't have time. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm.
I put, work first.
Absolutely.
And when it even got to the point where those 12-hour days changed to 8-hour days because I just chose to no longer spend my time working. You know what I'm saying? I just learned to do without as much. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
I just once I had that just epiphany, that moment of like, oh, I can do this for myself. And that's one of that it was like the unlocking of my brain of like, oh, there's so many things in my life that I've always wanted to do, but I never did.
Hmm.
And now it's like I do them all. You know what I'm saying? That was that moment for me.
Wow. But I mean, you just said some profound stuff, and like just looking at that, and I don't remember how long ago. I think it was back in November. You did a podcast on one of your ones where it's just you individually, but you did one on about putting yourself first, and
Yeah.
that doesn't mean. And you said not putting yourself first in everything, and I think just as men and fathers and husbands, we know we're never going to put ourselves first in everything. But as good men that are listening to this, you brought up like that you never put yourself first, or you never put those things that you wanted to do first until that day.
Yeah.
And I think that that is such a profound thing to hear you say, because there's so many other men listening to this going like, that's me too.
Hmm.
I do it for my kids. I do it for my wife. I do it because we need the money. I do it because I'm desperate. I do it because I'm scared. I do it because I'm afraid. But I don't do it for me. I don't do it out of love for me. I don't do it out of care for me. And that is something that has to change if we want to be the best dads, if we want to show up with the best mental and emotional regulation. Because when we go from job and we are just doing nothing for ourselves, we are completely empty. Now wonder we react angrily. Now wonder we react dissatisfied with life. Now wonder we show our kids that and then they duplicate that as life comes, because we're not doing anything to satisfy our own selves in our own life. And we have to give ourselves permission as men to do that. And that doesn't mean like I check in with my wife like, hey, is
Hmm.
this fucking running just insane? Like, am I just stupid? Right? Like, is this just selfish? Am I just taking away from you and the kids? Is this adding value to we want to go just even after? Like, the run is not it, right? The run is part of the story. The run is part of the yumminess that feeds my soul, but it's not where we're going to end up. So then this means that it is a team effort, right? They are my tribe, and all of us need more brotherhood and more tribe, because we need men to show us like what it looks like, because you do it, so that means I can do it.
Yeah.
And if I see you do it and if I see Chris do it, then that means the next guy can do it. But we need permission, because most people think that men are just around walking, part of society, part of our group of our society thinks men are just walking around doing whatever the hell we want whenever the hell we want to do it. And that's far from what a real man looks like. And and we need to promote that more into this world.
The truth. The truth. It needs to be promoted as much as possible. That was one of the whole purposes of my podcast. It started off as one thing, and then it just totally morphed into this, like, man, if someone knew what I knew or understood what I was thinking, it could change people. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? And that's just what I love. And that's why I love having guests on, because it's a different version of the story, and that different perspective shows what is capable. You know what I'm saying? Mine's is just one story in the world, but when we talk to someone like you and we have this coming on, it's like, I'm my version. Someone's almost like your version. And so that little twist, that little tweak takes them in the right direction.
absolutely. I think that's so well said.
Oh
I
yeah. I love doing this.
I just want to say, like, to me, looking at my journey, like, even somebody asked me this when I first started training to run the perimeter of America, like, how do you know you're going to finish? And I said, oh, I don't. Like, none of us know how this is going to work out. We don't know. What I know is they're going to help me become the best me. And that
Mhm.
if I start doing training for this, something great is going to come from it. And if you're sitting home right now and you're going like, man, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. You know, Ben keeps talking about this. Chris keeps talking about, I don't know if I can do this. I will tell you what Les Brown said, and it's something that's impacted my life forever. But he said, and if you don't know who Les Brown is, look him up. He's big in personal development. He's much older now, but you can go look him up on YouTube. He still exists.
Mhm.
And he said, shoot for the moon, because if you miss, you at least land among the stars. And to me, that's the case, right? None of us know how big we can shoot, but let's shoot for this. Like, let's shoot for the moon, because if we miss, at least we can land among the stars. But most of us aren't shooting, and we got to shoot our shot, because as far as we know, we have one life to live, one life to get, one life to give. And if we got one life to get, we might as well get as much as we can. If we have one life to give, we might as well give as much as we can, right? Because this old saying is, God gives you the gift of life, and what you do with it is your gift back to Him. And man, what can we do when we have the right team around us, when we have the right perspective and mind shift that's developed through the shit of doing the shit, and then we get an amazing mindset shift that allows us to be the man. But without the team, without the challenge, without the friction, we never get to become the man we really meant to be. And that starts with us realizing we have to listen to what's inside and what we need, and give that value to, and not just give our value to everybody else and hope we can, like, make it through life. Because I sure as hell don't believe God put us here going like, you know what, Chris, what you need to do is give everything to everybody, get a good job, make a good living, buy a house, and buy people stuff, right? And I think it's much more less about being a consumer and much more about being a creator. So get out there and create the life you want. Shoot for the moon, because you'll land among the stars even if you miss.
That's the truth. You have to. You uh, Goals are so huge. A big picture at the end of a goal is just it's vast. You know what I'm saying? Because even when you shoot for the moon and you do these things, and I like I'm a like I'm a one step at a time person. I have my goal. I see what I want. And I always say, this is the direction I'm going. This is the path I'm taking. But that direction, that path can change, because guess what? I'm just taking this way. It's like when you drive in a car and you go in a specific way, someone might hop in, but guess what? They'll hop out. Sometimes they'll stay a little longer, sometimes they'll go a little shorter, but at the same time, I'm going this way.
Mm-hmm.
People are along for the ride. People are always welcome for the ride. But understand that, hey, this way is just my way. It's my feeling, it's my emotions, it's my thoughts. This is my goal, is this way. And I've always talked about, I always break this way into smaller steps, because it makes it more manageable for me, you know. And like I said, I'm gonna tell you a little story. I used to drive truck for Costco. I used to be a truck driver, and I've 12 years. I've put in some serious time, and we used to get packed down, like, like truck completely filled from head to toe. It'd be a disaster, and they'd be like, "Look, just do it, just do it, just get it done." And then one day, I just happened to open my truck up, and it's just completely hammered. And it's like, how do they expect me to do this? I'm completely overwhelmed, overstimulated. I am just at a red line. I'm cussing. I'm yelling. I'm screaming. It's like 5 o'clock. It's probably like 5:30 in the morning. It's dark, and I'm by myself, and I'm just hooting and hollering. All right, I'm talking about. I'm just completely just let steam out. And then I sat down on a pallet of stuff, and it was just another one of those light bulb moments in my life where I was just like, why am I arguing? Why am I fighting? Why am I letting this happen to me? And then I just had this thought where I'm like, just one at a time today. That's
Mhm.
all I'm doing. Just one at a time. I am just going to do my job one step at a time today. Nothing more, nothing less, no rush. And I actually got done faster that day than I have ever done in my entire life.
That's
You know
awesome.
what I'm saying? Because I broke it down to a bite-sized thing. I just showed up, I did it, and just ignored all the not ignore. I accepted the emotions in the morning, but that day, every time I showed up, all I could see was just this one. That's it, and
Mhm.
then it completely changed like my perception in life on how I manage and take care of things. If something falls in front of me, I just take care of it. I just take care of that one step. Whether and if that thing requires more than one step, it's no. Let me take care of this to take care of this to take care of this to take care of this,
Yeah.
just to organize it in my brain on how I can see it. And it's that way has taken me to my goals.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? That way, that thought process is nope, just do this to do this to do this to do this, and then I'm done. And like I said, that thought process that I've taught myself, and that mind shift that I have is instead of complaining, just get it done. But everyone's got to get it done differently. And having the views, what I'm saying, you have to shoot for the moon. But for me, I'm going to shoot for the moon, but let me do this so I can do it. But the
Absolutely.
thing is it's getting it done first. It's like I have to get it done first to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I like everyone processes things differently. And in my head, for some reason, if I can just manage the first thing, I don't got to worry about it.
Yeah, I like that. I think it makes it easier to get started.
Yeah.
Like for me, the started at 1 mile a day, not because I didn't think I could run more than 1 mile a day. I started with 1 mile a day because it was frictionless, right?
Yeah.
Like it took all the thinking about running the perimeter of America or running 30 miles a day. That's too much. Like that when I ran 5 times in 20 years, I hated it so much. It wasn't a good goal to go like, hey, let me just run 17 miles and start with that. It was start with 1 mile. And the smaller, the easier, the frictionless we make it, the more likely we are to act. And the more
Mhm.
simple it is for our brain, the easier our brain, because our brain takes a lot of our energy a day. Out of the calories we burn, it takes a lot of like resources to give our brain energy to work. So if we can make it simpler for our brain and take away the energy resource it's going to take to dump if it's a big thing, because if a big thing we got to think through it, then we got to really like if we've already figured that out ahead of time and we make it so small, then our brain goes like, oh, that's easy, right? And I made my goal so easy that I figured within 24 hours of a day, if I can't run a mile, that I would laugh at myself. So I knew it was so small and so simple and so easy that I would laugh myself if I didn't get it done, as you said. And I
Yeah.
knew that that was all. That was all I had. At the end of the day, all I have to do is get a mile in. And because I did that, I was able to build that momentum and build that I follow through and build the identity that like I'm a person that does run, right? There's so many layers to this when you start small that most people want to shoot for the moon, but then they want to shoot a rocket to get to the moon.
Yeah.
And if we realize like screw your timeline, screw what you think like your end goal is, put it like grab onto it and know what it looks like, but put it on the shelf and then just break it down and make it so simple and small and easy that there is no reason you can't execute on it. Because if you're feeling overwhelmed, like the truck, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's because you're looking at too much. You're trying to
Yep.
take on too much. Your central nervous system gets in a fight or flight state. And if you want to regulate your system, because that's what you're going to do if you want to succeed in anything challenging, is you're going to get really, really great at regulating your central nervous system. And if you don't know what any of that means, you can do a quick Google search. But like, right, if you are in fight or flight, we're never going to make good choices. We're never going to put forth our best. We're not going to even put action behind it because we are going to fight it, which means push it away. And you said earlier you accepted it, so you accept it first. Get rid of the fight, and then you got to calm your central nervous system so it doesn't fight, run away from the problem, which goes back to, again, what you brought up earlier, is pushing away problems. And then once we accept it and we make it so small, now our central nervous system goes like, okay, this may even be a little stressful, but I can do it. And then we have that belief and that clarity that we can do it because we've broken it down so simple and easy.
Yeah. No, that's it. Like I said, it's so crazy because like we can go through these things in life, and the lessons come out, and a lot there's like I said, we're saying here is there's a lot of men that go through these lessons, but a lot of us don't share our stories in these lessons, and the ones that do show these stories, talk about these stories, and try to show men that we can do these things. It's something more the world needs because, like I said, there's a lot of us that hold all of this in and never speak on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, to speak that, and just being all real, like, for 2.5 years, I remember through hard times, me and my wife would go like, should we even be doing this? I'd be crying, she'd be crying, like, is this just too hard? Like, are we, is this really is this our purpose? Is this what we're meant to be doing? Is this what we really want to be doing? Should we go get a job? Should we go back to school? Not dissing into those things, but that seems like the easier, normal societal route.
Mhm.
And I remember even not, like a year or so, I remember just saying, fuck it, we're done. Like, I'm done running. Nobody supports us. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares about, like, that we're running. Nobody thinks this is anything. And I just remember her going like, okay. And we have a rule. We give it 48 hours, right? Like, give it 48 hours. If you don't feel at least 1% uptick and more like, yeah, I still want to do this, then we really contemplate, should we quit? And, and over the next few days, we're talking, and I remember it being challenging, just still challenging, going like, man, what are we doing? Like, are we doing the right things? And having really big emotions about it. And once we can clear out those emotions again, and once we can actually sit down and go, man, what are we doing? And is this problem really just something to make us reflect and go like, yeah, we are going in the right direction? Or is this to really make us reflect and go like, hey, we're choosing something stupid? And those times, like, I'd love to say, that was the first year, and then they all went away. They don't. They come back in a new way. They come back in a different way for us, or at least for me. Say it that way. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe the rest of you guys are like, nope, I had that one challenge, and I'm good. I figured it out, and everything was great. That's not me. Um, and I know, and I like all of us are this way. So to me, it's amazing to realize that those challenges aren't going away. You will get stronger. You will get better at resisting them. They will last a shorter amount of time. They may originally lasted, like, let's just say, a month, and now they last, a couple hours. You can walk your way, talk your way through them, speak your way, and act your way through them. But yet they're there, and they have been some of the most confronting things for us, and also the most growing things for us that have happened to me in my life through this running challenge. Through, and I want to be honest, like, I had drug and alcohol issues. I was molested as a kid. There's all kinds of other things that have happened. Yet you always go back to the old tapes to tell you how inadequate you are. Like, oh, this is the reason I can't see. This is the reason other people can see, but not me. Like, I was molested, or like, oh, or when we were growing up, whatever it is. And yet the realization is, once you advance in life, like, those memories are only meant to give you fuel. They're not meant to steal your fuel. And when we look at our lives, we realize, like, again, man, the problems are going to be here. The question is, like, what problems do you want? And what problems do you want to get? Because if you're just living life, you're going to have, like, normal life problems, because that's how life works. But if you're going big, you're going to have bigger problems. Yet those problems are going to show you a version that you never knew of yourself. And that's the truth. That's the reason you want the big problems. That's you want the problems where they feel like they're crippling, and you're just like, man, you're just feeling so much pressure and feeling so much like angst, and then you realize like, I don't have to carry that around. I accept it. I got to find a little. I got to sharpen my axe, and I got to start chipping away at the tree,
Yeah.
and then it falls.
And that's exactly it. It's, you know, everyone, like, just like you're saying, you can go through things in life and you make all these excuses, but they're not really excuses. They are pathways, they are fuel, they are things that should be driving you, and a lot of people don't ever see that. It's, I'm the victim, I've gone through this. And a lot of times it's like, look, we understand, we get it, but what are you doing with it? How are
Yep.
you like, how are you managing this? And I've had all my issues and I've had all my problems in the same way. Drugs, alcohol, all these, like, growing up with a disadvantage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I definitely grew up with a huge disadvantage. I've told numerous times, I didn't learn to read till I was in my teens. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Okay.
I was part of the school where they just push you forward. You know what I'm saying? I've never graduated high school. I've never gone to college. I've never had anything in that sense. The only thing I've ever had is two hands and the ability to work.
Okay.
And somehow I still manage to reach the level of success that I have, because I've never once been like, I don't have time, I can't do this, I'm not smart enough. I just know I can do it. I can do it. Yes, I can. Because guess what? As long as my hands can move, I can make things happen. And that's one of those things, what I'm saying? I've never let anything hold me back. But also too, it's like, when you've gone through so many things in your life, it's like, how can I let something like this hold me back? I have too much to share,
Mm-hmm.
too much to do, and I have too much wants to 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 let something stop me.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been the smartest person in the room. I've never been the most intellectual. You know what I'm saying? I've
Mm-hmm.
only been myself. I can talk, I can walk, and I can speak. And guess what? People enjoy that. You know what
I
I'm saying?
love that. Yeah. I think,
Yeah, it's hard.
I just want to say, I think you said something really profound, and I like to think of it as giving authority over things. So when we talk about like, oh, our past, or I'm not smart enough, or whatever we're giving our capabilities away to, like, we give that authority. And to me, life is about authority. And right now, if you're sitting there and you're in your mind and you're going like, oh, I can't do it because of this, you're giving that authority over you. And as a man, we want freedom. We want to go conquer. We want to be the hero in our journey, and we want freedom. The freedom to do what we want, time wise, with our family, to conquer, and to just be the people we want to be. And when we look at that, it's because we are speaking authority. We are giving our authority away through our own speaking in our mind to these things, to these worldly things that don't matter. Yet when we realize we are the untapped potential that has these things that are stopping us, so we can overcome them, so we can show other people that they can overcome them, then we realize like they have no authority over us, but we're giving our authority away. And I just want to say, if you're a man, like, grab back your authority, take it back, and know it's you that owns it and no one else. And if you choose to take it back and get after it, when you do that, that's when you like first step into being unstoppable. And that's when you first step into being who you truly are, that little flame inside, because you're taking ownership of you and not giving it away to something else or somebody else or some other thing.
I'm telling you, that's exactly it. That authority, that permission to ourselves, that unleashing of who we can be. It's it's so hard in this world. Like it's crazy too, because it's frowned upon to be a man,
Yes.
but only in a society that we see in social media. I like I've always told, and I tell everyone all the time, I'm a man's man. Always have been, always will be. But the variation, that the version of it is changed. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
version of a man's man has changed. And that's what we need to lean into in this society and in this world. And everyone's version is going to be slightly different, but my version is a man that understands himself, a man that has control of himself, a man who's willing to talk about himself, and a man willing to own his feelings in this world. These
Mm.
emotions that we have, because emotions are something that I really had to teach myself to show.
Hmm.
Emotion, anger, guess what? The easiest one because it's allowed. But love, compassion, empathy, you know what I'm saying? These are things that men are not allowed to. But guess what? In this day and age, guess what? It's allowed and it needs to be allowed and it needs to be taught. It needs to be shared. It needs to be, passed around as men because guess what? When you're an emotionally controlled person that doesn't hold it in and pack it down, and you have the ability to express yourself and really share that with your friends, your family, and the world, it makes you so much more stronger in every situation of your life.
It certainly does, and it doesn't just make you stronger to you; it makes you stronger to everybody else, right? Because like when I'm with my little girl, if I have emotional regulation or emotional control, and I can ex- if I can say sorry to her and not feel like, oh my goodness, that's a hit to me being a man, because it's not. Right? A
Yeah,
real man says sorry. A real man
exactly.
acknowledges when he's wrong.
Yeah,
When I don't have to play the role of what a real man of society looks like, or I don't also have to play like the woke man of society and what that looks like,
yeah,
because that's bullshit too. And I
exactly.
can just be me. Then we realize that most men that are walking around are really doing their best to be their best,
Yeah,
really wanting to be their best, and really wanting to show up to their family as their best. And there is no toxic masculinity. We can talk about where that came from if you want to talk about in the 80s and
oh yeah,
stuff. But nonetheless, anything taken to an extreme can be toxic.
yep,
Femininity, eating, working at right, running too much, all of
yeah,
it can be toxic. The question is, what is your intention and what do you want to get from it and get out of it? And to me, like, people even brought up about running and they go like, oh man, it's really not healthy to run all every day. And I had even a doctor I went to, and he said, "Oh man, at your age, you shouldn't run every day." And this was when I was first starting out, like my first year. And then 2 years later, I go in for a physical. The same doctor, he's like, "Man, I just turned 40." So he's like, "Man, you're 40." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I run every day." He's like, "You should keep doing that. You're like in the best health I've ever seen of anybody that's 40." I said, "Yeah, thanks." But my point of is just, man, people are going to tell you the way you should be and should do things.
hmm,
And when the reality is, you realize like, man, when you are emotionally strong, anybody can tell you anything. You don't
yeah,
have to accept it. And when you're
exactly.
emotionally strong, you can take that on for your family too. Because sometimes you're going to carry the water for your family, not just for you.
Yep,
And the only way you do that is by stepping into who you really are and at getting good at handling your emotions and being able to like flow through those emotions. And as you said, communicate those emotions to the people around you. Because my wife can sure as hell think I'm pissed if I don't explain to her and if I don't have like a talking, or she can think something else is going wrong in our relationship and it had nothing to do with that. But when I can express
exactly.
that and share that, we now we now it's now me and her versus the problem instead of her versus me. And
Yeah,
to me, that's the huge part about emotional regulation and communication with it.
yeah, and those conversations between spouses, me and my wife, because like I said, I wear my emotions on my face, and she can tell. But I've grown and learned to the point where I'm like, no, this is what's happening, or this is what I'm feeling, this is
Absolutely.
what I'm thinking, because it's a difficult conversation. Not very many men which can express that, talk about that, and share that without feeling uncomfortable. But guess what? You got to have a few of those conversations before it feels normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gets because men, we grow up and we go like anger. Okay, anger is my thing, right? Like
Yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah,
I'm angry about everything. That's what it is. And everybody tells, or at least when
yeah,
I was a young man, you're
yeah,
way too angry. You're angry like your father, whatever it is.
yeah,
Yet the truth matter is, nobody, as a young man, nobody else goes like, "Hey, what other emotions are you feeling? Like, what are you like? What is really going on?" So anytime we have a conversation as we're getting older, we go like, "I'm angry," but really, there's all these other emotions that we just don't know how to filter through. So
exactly.
we're sure as hell not going to talk about it with you. Like, I don't. I don't know how to express that to you. I don't even know what I'm feeling. I'm feeling something, and it's not anger, but nobody told me what to label it, so I don't know what it is. And it really is. It's a process to learn that and to learn
Oh
your
yeah,
emotions and learn your triggers so you can even, hey, I know it looks like I'm pissed, but really I'm just having an issue with this, right?
yeah,
And then your wife goes like, oh, okay, now it's no longer a you versus the problem, it's a we versus the problem. And that's the same thing with
exactly.
the brotherhood, right? When you have a
Yes,
good brotherhood that you can dive into and go like, man, I'm suffering right now with this. Cool, bro. Let's get after it. How do we what do I support you emotionally, and then how do I support you physically and mentally to get after it? And when
exactly.
we do that, it's a game changer for relationships.
It is. It is a game changer because life can, everything we've talked about here can just dramatically improve everybody's well being. And it just takes a moment of time to recognize it. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us, we're not trained to see it. We're blind to it. And, and like I said, this is the new man. You know what I'm saying? This is the new version. This is what I like to see. My kids, my boys, I got 3 of them, and everything that we've talked here is conversations that I have with them. I explain it to them. I say it to them, the reason I do this is because I never want them to go through the confusion that I went through my entire life.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Because if they understand every one of these aspects that we've covered today, they will be a person that can achieve more than anything in this world. You know,
absolutely.
it's just something I love. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I got 3 boys. My oldest is 23. My younger son is 20. My youngest son, he just turned 14.
Okay.
And yeah, and like I said, the growth from them, each one of them, because like I said, hey, when my oldest son, it didn't have this polished version of me, but he had a good version, and god damn it, he's doing great in life. My younger son, you know what I'm saying, he's just, emotionally adapted is a word that I like to use for him because God, I've watched him through his relationships, I watched him through his life, and he can stay true to himself no
Mm,
matter what anybody says.
that's powerful.
It's yeah, it's oh, it's so crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, men supporting men, dads supporting dads. That's a great cause to support. You know what I'm saying? It's
It is.
just God, like I said, I just love having these conversations. Well, Chris, yeah, man, an hour just blew by. That's insane. So let people know where they can find you. Let people know, where they can support you. Let people know where they can just basically follow your journey here.
Cool. So the best place is you can go to chrisrunsamerica.com. If you want, like, we're doing newsletter right now, but we'll be doing more video content and stuff like that coming through YouTube. So you can follow our journey, not because it's not just about me, it's about my 2 kids. We're going to RV around the United States. We're going to see America like no one else, which means you get to come see America like no one else with us, 30 miles at a time, with a family that just we're not out there for the race. We're out there for the pace, and we're just out there to have fun, explore what America looks like, and do something. Guinness Book of World Records that's builds an incredible. And if you want to be part of that, Chris Runs America, or you can find me on Instagram, Chris Avery Coaching, or on Facebook, you can find me at Chris Avery. I'm the dude with the white beard of snow, with the beard all, the snow all over my face. So just look for that photo. You'll find me somewhere.
Oh yeah, hey, I will add all the links to the notes so you
Cool.
guys can go follow. And Chris, I'm gonna take us out of here. Thank you guys for listening. This is the Angry Dad. I appreciate it. And if you want to watch my shit, YouTube, you want to listen to it, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, SoundCloud, Deezer, iHeartRadio. This motherfucker's everywhere. You can easily fucking find it. Rate, review, like, subscribe, all that bullshit. It really helps me to fuck out. I'm also part of the Inner Circle Podcast Network, a group of powerful podcasters out there sharing their shit. That is innercirclepn.com. Take it to every one of our websites, every one of our shows. So make sure you check it the fuck out because we have shows as The Plunge, Failing Hollywood, Simmons and More, The Untrained Eye, The Hood Diner, and Shit Happens When You Party Naked. And we'll see y'all motherfuckers on the next one. Fuck.
Never die. Always living. Always living. Always living. Always living. Always living. Always living. Always living.